I'm Steve Plage, and welcome to this edition of Nonprofit Spotlight. This is a series of programs we're producing here at CTV that highlight local nonprofits who do such wonderful work in our community. Today we're highlighting Second Harvest Food Bank, and I'm really pleased to have with me the CEO of Second Harvest, Willie Elliott McCray, and I got that right. So Willie, welcome. You've been with Second Harvest since 1978. Tell us a little bit about your history with Second Harvest and how the organization has grown. It's, as I understand it, was the first food bank in California.
Well, I started with Second Harvest in 1978. So I started as warehouse manager, driver, purchasing agent. Worked with the food bank and with the Meals on Wheels program. Did that for 10 years. We moved the food bank in 1979 from Harvey West Park, right across the street from Costco.
Oh, really?
So we moved it over by Manuel's, and the next year we moved it down to Watsonville, a small little apple shed over by the Mona Lisa Cafe, and then I moved the food bank to where it is today in 1986. And 1988, I became the director. In 1989, at the tender age of 35, my hair turned white.
For goodness sakes.
That was the year of the earthquake. And we received as much food in 2 weeks as we normally did in a year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I noticed that I was looking at the website trying to kind of inform myself more about Second Harvest and their wonderful work. It says working together to end hunger and malnutrition. And as an aside, I shop in Watsonville at Second Harvest for our local faith community shelters. And I can tell you that the leafy greens and the fruits that we get make a world of difference in the nutrition of the people that we serve in the meals for the homeless community and the shelter. And I know nutrition is extremely important to Second Harvest.
It couldn't be more important, and you know, it was interesting. Early days when we were there, you know, we were worried about filling the bellies. You know, back in the 70s, you worried about kids getting enough calories, failure to thrive. You know, babies. You know, we read all about that. And you know, what's been interesting is, you know, over the last 30 years, the problem has transformed from too few calories to too many calories. And so we've seen that, you know, throughout, you know, sort of the American culture, reflected in a lot of ways. You know, one thing is the rate of obesity has tripled for kids during the last 30 years. In Santa Cruz County, 1 out of 3 kids is struggling with obesity. Most of those kids are facing a lifetime of diabetes, chronic management. You know, so the whole issue about the American diet and how so many families have had to stretch their budgets with cheap food that's, you know, high in sugar, low in fiber, and it has devastating impacts on our community, on our workforce, you know, on our family's ability to thrive. So it's been interesting. We go through all of our own changes. You know, in the beginning, I was what you call a Mikey food banker, right? So Mikey takes anything, you know, anything that came in, we were thrilled for it. We got it out. You know, I was a good old-fashioned Mikey food banker. And about 10 years ago, you know, I went and did my colonoscopy, and I discovered that I was not indestructible. They had to go out and remove a little section of my colon, you know, because the fact of the matter is nutrition matters, you know, and I didn't get enough fiber in my diet. I didn't get enough, you know, healthy leafy greens and fruits and vegetables in my diet. And you know, what can I say? I became a born-again produceaholic. So.
You know, as I was looking at the website also, it says that you do 600 nutrition classes at 28 different locations. That's just a phenomenal amount of outreach to the community to let people know how important nutrition is. What's your idea about some of the main things that people should think about as far as nutrition and just healthy living?
Well, you know, one of the most important things is creating a supportive atmosphere, you know, and so by that I mean, you know, we are bombarded with so many messages about, you know, eat tricks, you know, drink Coke, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, all the stuff the food industry is, you know, working on how they can grow their profits through cheap food. And so so one of the things that we've done with that is, so there are a couple things to say to that. One is that these 28 locations are actually support groups. And we have about 1,400 families that are going twice a month to our support groups. They go month after month after month. Because, you know, when you're struggling with food issues and weight issues, you really need, you're constantly frustrated, you're constantly falling off the bag, you need someone to support you.
Absolutely,
so that's number
of course.
one. And number two is I'm not teaching the nutrition classes. We have trained over 300 low-income parents and grandparents who teach other parents, you know, and so it's really a peer support group, and it's a peer-to-peer. And, you know, the third thing is when we talk about nutrition, the important thing is to not make it overwhelming. We know that more than anything, the obesity crisis in America is caused by the diet industry. You know, you buy this stuff and it'll make you thin, you know, so you buy this stuff, you're on that kick for a while, and then you just get into deprivation, you fall in the wagon, and before you know it, you've gained all the weight plus some. And we all know, we all struggle with this in our own personal lives and the people that we know. And so, you know, we really teach people, make small changes, make incremental changes, pick one thing. You know, and then beyond that, you know, I mean, we have 5 basic rules of nutrition, you know, and you can make it a lot more complicated as you need to, but the fact of the matter is you need to keep it simple. So the most important thing is make sure at least half of everything you eat is fresh fruits and vegetables. And at Second Harvest, we walk our talk. Over the last 10 years, we've gone from 1/3 of our food distributed being fresh fruits and vegetables to 2/3 of our food being fresh fruits and vegetables. We got the Mighty Apple Award out of Feeding America for the highest percentage of fresh fruits and vegetables distributed by any food bank in America. Willie calls that the Healthiest Food Bank in America Award. So just to say that...
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
no question,
yeah. So fresh fruits and vegetables, they matter. You know, the second thing is don't drink sugar. You know, drink water, drink milk. You know, rethink your drink. You know, beyond that, you know, a lot of people say don't eat, you know, if you're on a diet, you shouldn't have carbs, right? Well, that's actually not quite true. What's true is you need whole grains in your diet. Your whole system works better if you have the whole grains. And then beyond that, you know, make sure you're trying to eat more lean proteins. And the fifth thing, which is so confusing, is you need to focus on healthy fats. For people have always said fat is bad. Fat is not bad. Sugar is bad. Fat does not cause fat. Sugar causes fat. Now, you don't want unhealthy fats. You want healthy fats, whether it be nuts or dairy or, you know, all sorts of things. And so those 5 things, it's not complicated. You do those 5 things, and guess what? 95% of all your problems, all your health problems go away. You know, we're into wellness. Yeah.
And that's why it's so fascinating to me. As I said as we opened the show, everyone knows and has heard of Second Harvest, but there's so much more. You are so much more than a food distribution organization. That where the nutritional aspect of the nutritional component is really what fascinates me. And when and Mel Nunes, we go down Thursday and shop for the Faith Community Shelters. We need to get leafy greens and fruits and vegetables and fiber, so that when we're feeding people who are homeless, who need that kind of nutrition, you know, who are carrying everything they own on their backs, they need to go through the day, you know, to just improve their mental outlook and their physical well-being. And the wellness part of it, it's so productive for us to be able to go down there and talk to the people and say, you know, because we get information. And it's and I can't say enough about the welcoming atmosphere of your volunteers. Tell us a little bit about your volunteer staff, because those folks are just outstanding.
Yeah, you know, at the distribution center, in every aspect of our organization, it's volunteer driven, and so, like you said, we have a wonderful group of volunteers in our agency distribution. You know, it's Ted Lux. You know, he runs the distribution center.
Ted is terrific. Yeah,
he's an old retired IBM guy, and he runs a tight ship.
Yeah.
And
he gives Mel a hard time every time.
Absolutely.
he says, "Where's that old guy?" So, but Ted is wonderful,
and he has a great crew. You know, we got Nancy and Jim and Ginny and, you know, the whole gang there. And like you said, you know, they're there to help people. When our volunteers come in, you know, and I say, so did anybody tell you what your job was? And they said, well, our job is to weigh the produce. And I said, no, your job is to be a produce pusher. Because it actually is a lot of work for people to distribute fresh fruits and vegetables. But if people eat fresh fruits and vegetables, they're going to be healthier, you know. So. And
I think we've got a video here to roll in, and maybe we can see a little bit about all this wonderful work that's being done. So let's go to that now. Now, are
I'm Suzanne Willis. I'm the Development and Marketing Officer here at Second Harvest Food Bank. Here at Second Harvest, we service about 20% of the county's population, providing food safety network for them. This is through 3 direct programs: our Passion for Produce program, as well as our Food for Children program, and we're the county's support for CalFresh Outreach, which is formerly known as food stamps. We do direct distribution from our offices here once a month, USDA distribution, but primarily what we work with are 200 different agencies and programs throughout the county. So we're making sure that we're getting food in the county, delivered throughout the county in people's neighborhoods. And we're doing that in hopefully a culturally confident way, where our outreach workers are both bilingual, English, Spanish, and bicultural many times as well. We work with 100 different partner agencies who supply food, organizations like Gray Bears, Loaves and Fishes, Salvation Army, but we also have programs that we run in senior homes, in youth centers, things like that, that we make sure that we're getting the families the food that they need in order to really make their dollars stretch a little bit further.
My name is Luis Renteria. I work at the Second Harvest as the Director of Operations. Take care of the deliveries, pickups, and also we organize and do inventory in the whole warehouse. We also have partners that are agencies, and they help us to deliver the food to the families.
Hi, my name is Grace Galvan, and I'm the Director of Agency Network Services for Second Harvest Food Bank. And my job here is to work with 100 agencies. They come to our shopping area, pick out any food items that they would like to distribute to their clients. And that's how our clients receive the food. It's also my job to source the food. So I work with major donors around the Santa Cruz County, ag donors, retail donors, and I bring in the food according to the agency's needs. And the agency's needs are according to the client's needs. One of our major goals is to distribute more fresh produce, which is 65% of the food that we distribute here monthly. And in a month, we distribute an average of about 660,000 pounds. So 65% of that is fresh produce.
As a nutrition educator, I go out to different distribution sites and give out as much nutrition education. We have a different topic each month. As a nutrition programs coordinator, I coordinate 2 major programs here at the food bank. One of them is Food for Children, another one is Passion for Produce. Food for Children, we go out there what you kind of imagine as the food bank with the big truck, and we have people lined up. But we also have another AmeriCorps volunteer that she does outreach for nutrition education. She does monthly recipes to promote the healthier lifestyles.
I'm also a nutrition educator working alongside Brenda. And as mentioned before, we outreach for nutrition education to about, I want to say 35 sites around Santa Cruz County, so mostly Watsonville and Santa Cruz. And it's also culturally appropriate nutrition education, so we do it in 2 languages, in English and Spanish, just to work with our population. And we just try to encourage healthy living and also healthy foods with the food that we pass out, and we educate the people on what foods can be used in different recipes and their nutritional benefits for their diet.
Muted.
And that's wonderful footage. That shows the Watsonville facility, and you were saying that's where you hang out down there. And I was mentioning to you that, again, when we go down there and shop, the people are so welcoming. The inside staff, the office staff, the warehouse staff, and Ted. Suzanne was mentioning the Food for Children program and the Passion for Produce. Wonderful, great programs, but I was looking on the website. You have also a Food for Work program, and that's the kind of thing where you're not just teaching people, you're actually going out your hands-on, it seems, in the community.
Yeah, the Food for Work program, there are a number of job training programs, workforce development programs, the CET, the Center for Employment and Training, the Homeless Garden Project. There are a couple examples where what we'll do is we'll deliver food regularly to those work sites, and so the trainees can get some, healthy food and nutrition while they're developing workforce skills.
And I know that there's the community food hotline referral, but you've also got, you can have a food security presentation. Tell us about food. That food security is so important and probably so misunderstood that, maybe you can tell us more about it to let, to make people understand kind of the importance of food security and how it can be secured, really.
Well, so it's an interesting question. One of the things that we're discovering is that a huge percentage of the people that are going to the hospital emergency rooms and community health clinics are families that are struggling with food insecurity. And for whatever reason, they lack access to healthy, nutritious foods, and which means that a lot of them are having crises, whether it be blood sugar crises, if they're not properly managing their nutrition around their diabetes or that sort of thing. And so food insecurity is a huge driver of the healthcare issues we have in this community. We talk a lot about the healthcare crisis in America.
Right.
The cost of health care, we're going through all this stuff to try to figure out how we can manage the costs, et cetera.
Right.
What's that driven by is over the last 15 years, the cost of health care in America has gone from $1 trillion, which is a lot of money, that's T with a trillion,
right,
to $3 trillion a year. And so, you look around and you go, well, why don't we have money for our schools? Why don't we have money for our roads? Why don't we have money for our parks? Why don't we have money for safety? And it's because poor nutrition in this country, which is driven by, the snack industry, is sucking up, all the error.
Right.
Our GNP, our gross national product, health has gone from 10% to 30%. Over 60% of all the increase in costs in healthcare in the United States is driven by nutritional disease, is driven by poor nutrition.
Wow.
So food security is absolutely primary, and it's nothing more important. And food security can take a lot of different aspects to it. So obviously at the food bank we work hard to make healthy food accessible to families. There are neighborhoods in this community where they're not really proper grocery stores, but they're just the local markets, and you can't get healthy food there. Right. We have a number of community gardening projects. We work closely with Mesa Verde Gardens and a couple of other gardening projects. So there's so much that we can do as a community for people to grow their own food, to be able to get good healthy food, to support our local food production network. So to be able to go to school and get a healthy breakfast and a healthy lunch and a healthy supper. So all these are all aspects of how do we create a food secure and healthy community.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I think, as we talk about health care and the skyrocketing costs of health care, I think wellness is the base of that. And it's misunderstood, I believe. The people say wellness, well, that's a new age treatment for this or that. No, it's not at all. Wellness is your basic nutrition, your basic food security. And if you have that, as you're suggesting, then health care costs are going to be reduced significantly, and people are going to lead healthier, happier lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to have a stronger community. We're going to have a stronger economy. Right. Families will be able to support themselves. One of the biggest causes of poverty in this community is bankruptcy that's drawn by healthcare issues and healthcare costs. So we can absolutely transform the future of this community through healthy food.
And it's interesting that you say that, because there are some folks, unfortunately, in dire economic times, even in our county, who sometimes have to choose between housing and food, or housing and nutritious food. And that's something that's unacceptable in a society as great as ours, frankly.
Yeah. It's absolutely unacceptable, and it's unnecessary. And that one simple intervention, of making sure that kids have access to healthy food, they develop lifelong healthy, habits, they grow up successful in school, successful in life, they can support their own families. You create this virtuous cycle, right? That's what it takes to create a strong community. Yeah. It's not complicated.
No, and it's not, and it's taken me half a lifetime, or at least I hope it's only half a lifetime, to learn really how to eat well, to eat properly, to have, you know, the good dietary balance and things like that. And that's why I think it's so important for people to understand that if there is some question, I think, in their lives about whether or not their diets are balanced, whether or not their kids are getting good nutrition, Second Harvest is a great resource just for that. You know, to be able to call and say, you know, do you have an outreach class? Do you have a presentation that you can make so people can understand the importance of that?
Absolutely. And you know, the other thing that not everybody understands is that, or maybe they do, but you know, Second Harvest is a safety net, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're there for families.
I think it's seen as that, certainly. Yeah.
Families that are falling between the cracks, maybe they're in between jobs, you know, because a safety net means that you have a front line of defense, right? Right. And the thing that we really are trying to help, you know, the community understand is that CalFresh, the old food stamps program, that is the front line of defense. Right. So our goal is to get kids to be signed up for school breakfast and school lunch, get signed up for CalFresh, because they have tremendous resources. Right. Those programs have 10 times the resources that the food bank has. And so if we can ensure that this front line is strong, then we can have as many people as possible go into those programs. Then we have the resources to pick up all the rest of the people that fall between the cracks. And you know, one of the things that we love about the CalFresh program is it's not only a health and nutrition program, but it's an economic development program. You know, we were talking with John Leopold, Supervisor Leopold, recently, and he was pointing out that for every dollar of CalFresh benefits that we provide in this county, that there is $3 worth of economic activity, because then people go to the grocery store, so there's jobs in the grocery stores, there's food that's bought from the farmers, et cetera, you know, and so it creates a strong economy. And in Santa Cruz County, we have hundreds, over half the people that are eligible for CalFresh are not plugged into the program right now, you know, either because of outreach or, you know, because of, you know, some of the, you know, the processing issues or the business issues, or maybe stigma or whatever, you know. And so one of the things that's really important for us is that we plug people into the most effective, most productive resource that they can be. And that's why we say that we can only be a strong safety net if we absolutely commit and work hard to make sure the front line is strong.
Yeah. And I appreciate Supervisor Leopold's broad, holistic worldview, and I think that that's very important to have that. And every enlightened civic leader, certainly in Santa Cruz County and regionally, really should have that and take advantage of the fact that Second Harvest, I think, is a partner in that. We've got a few minutes left.
And there's one other thing I just wanted to elaborate on that, because the other part about it is it attacks the root cause, because fundamentally, if you want to solve hunger, you make sure people have jobs. You make sure that you have a strong economy. So anything that we can do to create a strong economy, whether it be grow a healthy workforce or drive demand through the grocery store, through the CalFresh program, et cetera, I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to end it.
And I think that's the right language, you know, is to grow a healthy workforce. I think that's the language we need to accept and understand, is that we need to be nutritionally sound. We need to be dietarily sufficient. We need to be strong and well so that we create that, you know, the kind of society that we'd like, and improve ourselves as we move forward. What do you see now from your vantage point as the future? Where are we going with Second Harvest? What do they have on the horizon?
You know, there are a couple things that are so exciting. You know, so one of the things that's exciting is the Packard Foundation recently gave us, you know, a 3-year, $120,000 grant to evaluate the effectiveness and the sustainability and the scalability of our nutrition programs. Our nutrition programs are seen as some of the best nutrition programs, education programs in America. We know it's true, but we got to be able to document it. We got to be able to demonstrate it. And so our ability to be able to get some, you know, world-class professional evaluators to be able to prove, you know, to the healthcare system in America that these programs make all the difference to being able to reduce healthcare costs and grow a healthy community. So I'm very excited about that. I couldn't be more excited.
And is Second Harvest, is that modelable so that people can look at that nationwide and in other areas? Do you have people come to you and say, this is a terrific model, what can we do to incorporate this in our area?
Absolutely. We have people coming to us from all over the country.
Yeah.
So I recently spent a bunch of time with the folks in northern Nevada. We've had people throughout California. We've presented the program nationally, and people love this program. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of things about it. There's some things that other people do, but the thing that makes it the most special is it's the low-income parents and grandparents who own the program. I've been to over 20 graduations of our promontories over the years, and time again, folks stand up and they say, no one ever asked me to be a leader before.
Interesting.
My opportunity to be able to stand up and be a leader to my community and to give back to my community and to be of service to my community is fundamental and powerful.
Yeah. And what our mayor is talking about in terms of compassionate city and county. We have a minute left. I want to make sure that people know where they can volunteer, get volunteer information, donation information. I know you have a newsletter. So tell us a little bit about the contacts that people can make if they're interested in volunteering and donating and contributing in any way to this wonderful enterprise.
Well, it's not too complicated, so just remember one thing.
Okay.
So we were the first food bank in California.
I remember that.
So our website is The Food Bank.
Ah.
thefoodbank.org. Just go on thefoodbank.org, and we need your help. We need you to volunteer, your contributions, organize food drives. I know people know, we're able to distribute 4 healthy meals for every dollar contributed. So just remember, The Food Bank.
Wonderful. Well, Willie, thank you so much. It has been a great pleasure having you here. Thank you for all of your good work. This is exactly the kind of program that we like to do on Nonprofit Spotlight, to really bring some focus to people who are doing such great work. And we hope to have you even back at some point to talk more about what the Second Harvest is going to be doing in the future. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Nonprofit Spotlight. Be sure to tune in for our next Nonprofit Highlight, which is going to be coming up shortly. So for Nonprofit Spotlight, for Community Television, for my good friend Willie, thanks for looking at us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye. That's fantastic.
That was fun.
Oh, that was fun. It was great.
Yeah.
There's so much energy in that.
Yeah.